What does this speak to the brilliance of someone like, I don't know, Harsha Bhogle or even Sanjay Manjrekar, who you've pointed out that even though, for example, with Harsha, he isn't, let's say, hasn't played the game at the highest level, but is still on the com
Yeah.
boxes, but he's still there and he's still trying to understand. And what I find humbling is that he still admits if he doesn't know anything, and he almost says that he's not an expert on the game. He's just here to give
Yeah.
sort of an opinion. So what do you think of that? Just being humble, as you pointed forward as well previously, that bringing your true self out on camera.
Yeah, see, as far as Harsha sir is concerned, we were in the bubble for 1.5 months, and he was doing. So here's the thing, man. He was English presenter. So wow,
Hmm.
Harsha Bhogle, and then they say Hindi presenter Arjun Pandit. What? A lot of people are going, "Kaun hai ye? Abey ye kaun hai?" It's that kind of scene, and it still happens with me. It's not like wherever I go, people recognize me. Half the people don't recognize me. In fact, my friends are such slime balls. They know that. So when we go out somewhere, they janbooch ke they form a group around me, and then if there's a new person or there's some ladies and all over there, they say, "Oh, I'm sure you know this guy. This guy's coming on TV, man. Look at him. He's a big guy." And then they're looking at me like this and saying, "No," on my face. I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I understand." But going back to Harsha sir, yeah, humbling is a word. Yeah. I was having problems initially when I started the T20 leg of the series. I wasn't. I'm a slow starter. I
Hmm.
kind of get in the groove after a while, and that's not always the greatest of things because at that level, you
Yeah.
need to go start. Boom, you need to be in. So that's work in progress for me. Luckily, he took out time. He sat with me, and he said, "Look, work on these things. Work on those things." When you look at me as a presenter and the way I talk, because I have said I'm going to embrace the lookaness of myself, sometimes it can come across as arrogant. It can come across as cocky because of the way I'm talking. And he thought the same as well. He said, "Look, the viewer wants you to invite him. You need to come across as that you're inviting the viewer into your show because Indians largely we're an emotional bunch, right? Emotions rule number one for us in the driving force for anything. So he's saying probably cut down on the cockiness. I said, but then I told him, I said, sir, the thing is that if I cut down on the cockiness, then I won't be who I am. And when I won't be who I am on screen,
Mm.
it's always going to be on my head. And with me, it's never white, gray, black. A
Hmm.
lot of people operate in gray. It's either white or black. I can't do the middle wala part. So then he understood that. He said, if that's the scene, then you just continue being who you are. And the more you are on screen, like habit, man, people will watch you and they'll learn to embrace you. Um, Say 10 people are saying he's an arrogant, cocky, whatever. Probably over time will turn to just four, will turn to three. And, because with Harsha sir, he has longevity, man.
Mm.
Uh, so many years he's been doing it. Huh? It's insane, man.
Yeah.
And mind you, every com box has ego issues.
Yeah.
So if you're in a com box with former players, everyone could be speaking very flowerly and nicely to all of you, but behind closed doors, there's always that eye saying, "Who's this guy?
Mm.
Right? How is he commenting on a player? Right?" But he is that authority, and he's done that not by continuously being on air. He's not done that by continuously being on air, but that has happened because he's always kept himself informed.
Yeah.
So in the morning when we used to have breakfast, he would always say, "Okay, BCCI mein that meeting is happening. Some Ranji Trophy game is happening. He's telling me, oh, that's happening. This guy scored this much. If some AGM is happening, this is some politics. He's aware of everything, right? And it's a constant everyday process.
Mm.
You cannot ratta maro before a show and say, "Chalo ji, let's go do a show." You will screw up like you screw up for an exam. It has to be a constant process where you have to be aware of what's happening on the field and you have to be aware of what's happening around the field or off the field. And once you make that as a habit, it'll easily, seamlessly come into your conversations.
Mm.
So you see the authority with which he speaks. So the person who's sitting across you, who might have taken 100 wickets, who might have scored 5,000 runs or whatever, knows that.
Mm.
And that authority comes out in when I say it. So if I'm asking you a question, um, and if you're sitting a feet away from me, it's very easy for you to gauge courtesy of body language, tonality, and how I, ask you that question ki ye ratta maar ke aaya hai or this guy actually knows what he's talking about. So with him, they know what he's talking about. So the honest conversation continues, and there's authority in the way he speaks. And I'm telling you, man, his process is insane. I won't be surprised if he continues for another 10 years.
Yeah.
He'll be on, man. And because उनका एक लहजा है बोलने का, उनका एक तरीका है बोलने का. There's a
Rhythmic
flyness.
flow, yeah, it's like
Flow.
poetry.
There's a rhythmic flow, and wordplay is so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
हम जैसे लोग जिन्होंने पढ़ाई नहीं करी है, तो हमारा वर्ड प्ले like what was happening? We're learning on the job. So he told me, he said, listen, don't be too hard on yourself. If you see what I'm doing, understand that I've done this for 15 years, 20 years. And so that is the product that you're seeing after 20 years.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for 2 years. It's impossible to suddenly compare the two. So don't do that.
Yeah.